Good evening. I'm going to be presenting our project status for our final project, which would be creating a profit margin. As we have presented in our previous tasks for this project, the background on our project is that the processing plant was operating at a loss for the past 6 months, and the executive team had the idea of closing the processing plant. So in order for us to keep the processing plant running, we'll need to have it operate at a profit. So we have here the list of activities and the percent completion for our MEM methodology. For the define, as we have presented previously, are at 100% completed. And right now we're at the measure stage. We have begun the capture of data, not only data that we normally use on our day-to-day operations, but begin capturing of new data that could potentially be used in our analysis stage and prospectively in our operations process. So in order to begin this measure process, we began establishing what key inputs have an impact in our day-to-day operations. From those key inputs that we have, we established that our key inputs are the yield percentages, how much of a raw material is actually being sold. How we do this in the processing plant is we receive the raw material, we process it, and then we sell a final product. The yield would be the weight of our initial raw product compared to the final product that we're selling. This will definitely have an impact on each product specifically, depending on how it's processed and the profit that we are able to sell for each one of the products. Our next item for our key input is our inventory, and our inventory is information that we have in day to day, but what needs to happen is that we are never low on inventory. They're not wasting too much money on inventory that we're not using. We need to establish metrics in order to have flags, in order to identify our next steps depending on how our inventory levels are. And last, for our key inputs are rejected qualities. Since food safety is such an important factor, our product can be easily rejected by different reasons of our clients, and having clients reject our products, not only do they not sell, but we have a loss of profit and loss of work, as it's already being processed, it's being dispatched, and it's gone through the whole flow of the process. So as we began capturing the information of our yield, this is not information that we previously had. We began capturing the information of our yield for our different products. As we can see here, we began to capture the yield percent for our different products, and as we have here, we have the fruits and then we have the vegetables, and as we can clearly see, there are some processing that yields more than the other, and this directly has an impact on our profit. So this way we can see, depending on how the demand is, what we would estimate our profit by each of the products. This will also help us complete our profitability analysis by product. Excuse me. So we also have an example here of our inventory information. What would ideally happen here is that we have trigger setup or flags for either low or high inventory, where we either need to restock or we need to not reorder. And as we look through the information that we already have as part of our analyze phase, we'll look to improve this by adding our next steps. And finally, we have rejected products. We have the information on the dates, and the critical part here is that we need to not only identify areas of opportunity by the rejection reasons, we need to establish our next steps not only for the client as to whether what the reason was. If it was a reason for quality, then the plant would absorb the loss, or if it was a dispatch reason or a dispatch error, or be able to establish not only the next steps, but who that loss is contributed to. We need to reduce the errors made in invoicing, but have those errors be corrected on the ordering side. So as we are wrapping up the measuring part, we will continue to have a few more weeks of data collection, but as soon as we do, we are going to establish baselines, create criteria for our operational reports, and have our identifiers or our flags for our next steps depending on how our inventory levels are going, to how our yield processes, in order to have that complete analysis to establish our next operational processes. So this is the end of our status presentation. Thank you.